Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Dan. I love hiking and backpacking and gear. If you guys love that stuff too, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Today we're going to be comparing the River Country Trekker 2.2 to the River Country Trekker 2.2. All right, I know what you're thinking. This is actually the new version. This is the original version. And if you've seen any reviews lately online, epic fails with this tent. So the River Country tent that we tested out this weekend apparently didn't do so hot. 3 girls slept in it. It's supposed to sleep 2.2 people. It's a River Country Products 2.2. Ella, what went wrong?
Well, water was coming in all night because there was a giant storm. So water was coming in through the seams up top. These side flaps, I wouldn't have these because it was winding and this whole entire thing would come up and the rain would just pelt right through here. The front of the tent, when it was raining, like this would zip up, but there's no like way to put this like this, so it would come up and then the rain would get right in through here.
I did talk to the company. I sent some emails back and forth. I got on the phone with Ned, the owner. We had a great discussion and I learned quite a bit about the tent, the old version, and also the new version. We're gonna talk about some of the differences and then we're gonna put it to the test. And because it's not gonna rain in the next couple days, I got the next best thing. All right, so I can't really, simulate wind or anything like that, but I'm gonna douse this thing. I'm gonna sit inside of it. I'm gonna give it probably 20 minutes or so inside the tent, and we're just gonna kind of talk about, if there's any leaks, any seam sealing issues, and whether or not you should actually buy this tent, if it's worth the 55 or 60 bucks or whatever this thing cost for you to just go ahead and buy it on Amazon as a budget tent. Well, you can tell right away that these tents are really, really similar. There's just a couple differences, real small differences between the two of them that's hopefully gonna solve that leaking problem and the seam sealing problem. When I talked to Ned on the phone, who's the owner of River Country Products, he was really adamant that this is gonna actually solve the problem. And keep in mind that this is just a prototype tent. This is not the one that's actually available to the public just yet. This is the one that everyone's been buying that a lot of people, not everybody, have had complaints about. And what Ned told me that it was a specific batch that was recently released, that there were some seam sealing issues, that he has since solved the problem in this tent here. And it was only in the past couple weeks that this was even found out. He's got great reviews from what I've understood on this particular tent over here. So again, this is just the prototype. We're gonna be getting this thing soaking wet. We're gonna be getting this thing soaking wet. We're gonna find out if it's gonna leak, and it's in the best environment I've got, which is just soaking it with a hose and a sprinkler and that kind of thing. So we're gonna kind of simulate just a rain shower. It's not gonna be like a big storm or anything like that at all. This has gotta be one of the easiest tents I've ever set up. You literally stake out the 4 corners of the tent. You throw a couple trekking poles in those rivets right here, tension up the lines, stake out the side pullouts, and you are done. Inside the tent, pretty roomy. It's a little dirty because I used it already in South Dakota. You can easily get 2 people in here with a little bit extra gear. I actually had 3 kids in this thing and it was just fine. So the biggest difference between the prototype version and this version, the ridgeline, this is the mesh, the sort of the no-seam mesh to stop all the bugs from coming in, is attached to a ridgeline, and the ridgeline is sewn right up there to the top of the tent. So this is all one seam and sewn directly to the outside of the tent. This is the prototype version, and you can see that the ridgeline is completely detached from the top portion of the tent. So you have a seam for the top tent, and then you've got a seam for the interior mesh part. Both tents have side pullouts, and you can see it's pretty wide open, and it looks like there's a lot of air ventilation that could come in here. Now, what my niece said in South Dakota is that those sides were blowing upwards and rain was coming through the sides a little bit. Now, that could have been how we had it staked out to the ground, because there wasn't really location to be able to stake it properly. The soil was extremely rocky and we had very, very limited spots to put a stake. All right, so now it's time to test whether or not these are gonna leak. I'm pretty sure this one's gonna leak because it did on our trip to South Dakota. This one, however, we're gonna test out the prototype. We're gonna zip up the doors. We're gonna get this thing as sealed as much as we possibly can. We're gonna crank on the water and we're gonna see how it goes. I'm in the prototype, and we've been letting the sprinkler run on this, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes so far, and I am not seeing any leaks whatsoever. There's a small amount of water right when you walk in, but that's from me walking through the grass and then getting inside of the tent. So far so good. There's no water coming in any of the corners whatsoever. Looks like the water is dripping off this waterproof fabric as it claims to be waterproof, and it's rolling off to the side of the tent. Now I'm in the original version, and there is definitely some differences, so let me show you. So this is the back corner of the tent. You can already see that water is just pooling in here. I mean, we've had this thing with the sprinkler on it maybe, I don't know, 15 minutes or so now, maybe 20. And this is a serious issue with the original tent. The other back corner, same thing. Identical. The original version. It's not easy to tell exactly what the problem is, other than there's seam sealing issues, and it's possible that the fabric itself just isn't waterproofed well enough on the original version. Now, I was in the other tent with water running for maybe 10 minutes or so. I didn't notice any of that. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna let this sprinkler go, and I'm gonna go eat dinner. And we'll come back in an hour or so, and we'll see exactly how these tents are doing. So I went inside, made a couple of BLTs back outside, and I'm already noticing it's been about 30-40 minutes or so, some major differences between even the outside of these two tents. So I'm trying not to get wet. I'm like 2 feet away from the sprinkler, but you can already see that the color of the fabric, you can already see that the color in the fabric, it's getting darker because it's starting to soak in the water. Look at this. On the prototype, not so much. I'm getting drenched out here for you people. But on the prototype, not so much. It is the same color as when we first took it out of the package, set it up, started this whole thing before I even turned on the sprinkler. Check it out. All right, so we're back now inside of the original tent, and there's no way on earth I would ever sleep in this tent, ever. Let me show you. It is just dripping and raining from the center of this tent. And you can see water is just coming in through that seam. I don't know, maybe it just wasn't, seam sealed properly or whatever, but it is just dripping all over the place. So can you imagine Chinese water torture all night long? Check out these corners of this tent. Now, I'm just gonna hopefully chalk this up to a bad batch of tents. I think it's time to get over to the prototype version and see if we did any better. See if this whole thing was solved. Okay, so we're back inside of the prototype version now. Okay, so this water that you're seeing right here is from me getting in and out of the tent. That is something that you'll definitely want to consider, because the door, the way it's set up here, the grass is right here, and when you come in, the door will flap, and it kind of will just drip water inside the tent if it's wet. So just keep that in mind, and just be careful if you're getting in and out of the tent. Okay, so I am noticing there is water inside this tent as well. On the edges here, it's really not easy to tell where this is possibly coming in. I don't know if it's the seam that's catching water here as well, but there's definitely water. This is not from me walking inside. I'm wondering if this lower wall portion here just isn't as waterproof. Corners are really dry. They're actually, there's no water whatsoever. Yep, same here. But look at on this other side. Definitely some water coming in here. It's really hard to tell exactly where or how this is coming in. Ridgeline looks pretty good. Okay, so I think I found the problem of why the sidewalls are leaking. I shut the sprinkler off so I can get out, but I think this thing is wet enough and it's been put through enough torture, so I'll show you what I mean. So if you look at that fabric up there that's attaching the sidewall for ventilation, and it's attached to this portion, this bathtub portion, this actual tent portion, and then there's the outside tent portion there. If you look there, you can see the discoloration on the outside there. And I think what's happening is water is getting in here in this seam ceiling or where it's sewn, and then it's traveling down that piece of fabric which is attached to this wall down into here, and then it's dripping inside the fabric, because I just can't seem to figure out how any other way water would get on this fabric, because this top tent portion, as you can see, is farther out than the actual wall, this wall of the tent. So if that's there and this is inward, the only way for that water to travel is to come down this piece of material here, which has to be being soaked up inside there and traveling down in here. So River Country Products, I think that would be a solution to fix your final situation, this prototype tent. Again, guys, this is a prototype. This is not for sale. This was sent to me for testing, and I'm trying to give you my unbiased, honest review, so that way I can help you guys, I can help the company, and we can all just agree to get a great, inexpensive tent, because other than that leaking problem, this is a really, really good tent. So to sum it up, the prototype tent is obviously doing a ton better, and kudos to those guys for sending this out to me to test, to put online, to sort of mid prototype, kind of how they're doing, so that you guys can see that they are actually working on fixing the issue. These guys are a small company. It's only 5 people. They're located in Washington. It's 5 years old, and so they are just inundated with people purchasing tents and trying to push things out the door. For a $55 tent, honestly, if they can fix that side wall issue now where it's just leaking in on that, I really think this is just a fantastic deal for a tent. It's too bad I can't tell you that it's ready for purchase just yet, because I don't think it is. I do think that if it rains in the middle of the night, even with the new version that's actually here now, it is going to leak on you, obviously. So I'm going to send this information off to River Country Products. Hopefully they can fix that sidewall from leaking. And if that happens, I think they've got a solid winner here. So if you guys like this video, please make sure you hit that like button. Also subscribe for more, and make sure you hit the bell notification so I can send you a video every time it's released. And I will see you on the next one.